Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen, the Get Some podcast. And my guest this week is...
This motherfucker Gary.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. I'm going to start off by thanking everyone in Austin, Texas. We had a great week last week. It was hot. It was over 100 every day. But the air conditioning worked. And they had to put a fan on the stage because it was hot. And it was so hot that I walked out of my hotel room, got into my car, drove over to the comedy club, and the way the Cap City Comedy Club is in Austin, the back door goes straight into the green room. And my opener had already went on stage, and I'm knocking and I'm calling. Nobody's answering. It literally probably took them less than 2 minutes to let me in, but in those 2 minutes, back sweat. Excuse me, that was disgusting. Sorry about that, and we're gonna keep that sneeze. It was that hot, and it was like I only had like 10 minutes before I went on stage, and I didn't have a lot of time to cool down, and it was just like I was leaking. So then they put 2 industrial fans on the stage, so it was really cold. There's actually a clip on my Instagram. If you look at it, it's one of the ones. I got a blue shirt on. I got a Cincinnati Harambe shirt, but you can see the fans just blowing my shirt. I felt like Beyonce, a little bit of Michael Jackson, just standing there with wind blowing in my face. But as always, Austin came through. I was a little worried, not too worried about pre-sales, but then the week of, they just went through the roof. It's crazy. Like, I'm one of these comics that most of the time I don't sell out like crazy in advance, but I guess it is in advance. It's just the week of. My ticket sales always go like most comics, they're going to go up, but mine really take off the week of the show. I mean, obviously you wish you was at a spot where you're already sold out way before you get there, but you still got to count your blessings and be like, okay, at least I am selling enough tickets that they do sell out. It just takes a minute. But this week I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at Helium Comedy Club. And then July 22nd, I'm in Vegas at the Palms. It's the Pearl Theater inside the Palms. And those tickets just start taking off like crazy. So if you want floor seats, you better hurry. I think there's like 30 left. Other than that, you're still going to have great seats, but you'll probably be in the upper deck. I don't want to downplay that. Those are still great seats. Actually, I prefer for me, I like the first row of if there's a balcony, because you get the whole stage. And if a theater has like big screens, you can see all the facial expressions, and you're still getting. There's nothing like being right in the front. Let's be honest. But if you're not going to be right in the front, I like the front row of the balcony. So. Those tickets are available, and then I'm going to take a couple weeks off, and then I'll be back August 11th through the 13th in Louisville at the Louisville Comedy Club, and then August 18th through the 20th, I'm in Greensboro at the Comedy Zone, and then September 1 through 3, I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana at the Helium Comedy Club, and then we're in the football season. Oh, yeah, baby. And then the 8th through the 10th, I'm in Buffalo, New York. And then the 15th through the 17th, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh Improv. I haven't been, I know this is a couple months away, but I haven't been to the Pittsburgh Improv. I'll never forget the last weekend I was in Pittsburgh, because it was January of 2020, and it was the weekend Kobe passed away. That's why I'll never. He's one of those like Michael Jackson, Kobe. There's certain people when they pass away unexpectedly at a young age, you remember where you were. I'll never forget. I was in the gym. This guy, he was a personal trainer. A friend recommended him. Me and my opener at the time, we went to his gym. We're working out. We just get done. And my opener at the time, he was a diehard Laker fan. I just remember he came out of like the locker room. He goes, Kobe died. And I go, shut up. And I looked up at the TV and I was like, yo. And I still thought it was a joke because when it said helicopter crash, I was like, this got to be a joke, right? And then everything started coming in. I go, there's no way. And yeah, it was just very somber couple days. And it was crazy was the weekend after that, I was in LA. I had a show at the Microsoft Theater. And I just remember when we got to LA, like everything was just, the memorials was out. You know, there was balloons, flowers, pictures, jerseys, shoes. It was just right there in that LA Live area downtown. It was just taken over by Kobe stuff. Yeah, that's why I'll never forget that. So then COVID hit, and I just haven't been back to Pittsburgh since. So this is going to be, what is it? That's 3 years, 3.5. Wow. I used to do Pittsburgh every year, but it's, let me see, January of 2020. So, yeah, 3.5 years, almost 4. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. I've had some nights in Pittsburgh. And my dad, I remember one time I was there and Dave Chappelle was in town at the theater. I was at the club. And then shouts out to my guy T-Robe. He was working with Dave that weekend, and he brought Dave over to this little nightclub bar, and we kind of shut it down. And it was just a fun night. Me, Dave, and probably 15 other people just having some drinks, listening to music, and having a good time. And I remember one person brought their camera out, and Dave said, he just kind of looked at it. He did a Jedi on him. He was like, no. Because he just wanted to let his guard down, have some drinks, and Dave's really into music, so he just wanted to vibe. The DJ was playing whatever Dave wanted, of course. And, of course, I made no selections. I just said, that's what I want. Yeah, that's the music I like, whatever he likes. So that was a fun night. I've had some great times in Pittsburgh over the years, so I'm looking forward to getting back there. Yeah, so that's my schedule for the next couple months. And speaking of stand-up, 2 things big happened this week. The biggest is there finally was a Jamie Foxx sighting. I guess he was on a yacht, drive somewhere in Chicago on one of the waterways there, and he's just waving. He wasn't saying much, but I was like, oh, it was such a for a comedian, and I think all comedians, I don't know anybody that doesn't like Jamie. I think it was just like a great moment. And of course the internet comes in saying they think it was a body double or a fake, and I hope that's not the case. I hope it was Jamie just enjoying getting out. And it was a good moment though. I've been wondering lately, like, what's been going on, and it was nice to see his face. He seemed like he was in good spirits. So yeah, that was a good moment. And the other thing that happened over the weekend is, I guess Kevin Hart, he had his Heartbeat weekend in Vegas, and they're going to bring back Comic View. And I'm still a little confused as to how they're bringing it back, like in what capacity. Because let me see if I can get more info. I'm glad they're bringing it back. I think we've been lacking stand-up comedy shows. I mean, everyone's getting not everyone, but a lot of people get Netflix specials, Showtime specials, Amazon Prime. But those variety shows that you can have the vets and the new guys, and it's just a chance to get your stuff out there and keep building your fan base. So let me read what this says. I'm going to go to BET since it's on BET. And I'm not getting great. So there we go. I guess T.I. is going to make his stand-up quote-unquote debut. Filming this, yeah, let me see. He's going to be a comedian. Filming for the series took place over the weekend at Resorts World in Las Vegas. Let me see. Mike Epps hosted. And let me see. Rubber Band Man, DC Youngfly, Brescia Webb, Tommy Davidson, Takara Williams all made appearances. Hart spoke about reviving the classic series during an interview with Variety, telling the outlet, "I'm thrilled to partner with BET for the return of Comic View." And a lot of people don't remember, Kevin used to host Comic View. He hosted for a season, and I think they tried to reboot it and bring it back, and it just wasn't the right time. But Comic View started in 92, and remained on the air until 2008. I hosted in 98. That's the year I hosted. Yeah, it briefly resurfaced in 2014. And let's see. Okay, here's what's funny. Throughout its run, the show boasted an impressive lineup of hosts, featuring renowned comedians such as D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, Bruce, Ricky Smiley, and some more. Did you forget one? BET? Yeah, the only white guy ever. There's no release date announced yet. However, fans can expect to watch it sometime later this year on BET. So I'm excited, man. Anytime there's outlets for stand-ups to show their craft, we're in a different age though right now, because you don't need Comic View like you needed it when I started. When I started, you needed it, and you didn't have Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and anywhere else to post your stuff, and nobody was traveling with camera people back then. So you were at the mercy of hopefully one of these producers or directors or network execs see you and say, yeah, you can be on the show. Now you can just kind of do your own thing. But, it's going to be good, because if you really look at it, Brescia Webb, there's not a lot of tape on her as far as YouTube, and you can look up her stand-up. You don't see a lot. DC Youngfly, you don't see a lot of his stand-up on the net. I mean, you got the 85 South show and Wildin' Out, but as far as just him on stage doing stand-up, I don't think he's had a special anywhere, so that's going to be good for him. And Tommy, I mean, who doesn't love Tommy Davidson? And then I'm not familiar with Rubber Band Man. I got to look it up. And I think everybody's anticipated to see T.I. Well, let me Google this. Rubber Band Man. Make sure I got that right, because I feel like a jerk if I don't know somebody. It's trying to give me a song. Rubber Band Man, comedian. Maybe that's not his name. Is that his name? Because I don't see nothing. They said Rubber Band Man. Let me go. Let's see. Comedian, YouTube. Nope. I guess that's his name. I'm not sure. That might be a misprint then. I'm going to feel like an asshole if he's going to be like, dang, Gary. So Rubber Band Man, if you're out there, I'm sorry. I'm just not familiar, but I'm sure I will be after Comic View comes out. So, yeah, that was big. That was for stand-up. I mean, the sighting of Jamie Foxx and then Comic View coming back. That's a big week. That's huge. Also over the weekend, man. So I always try to get the UFC fights, even when I'm working, because you can pause. I can buy it and I can pause it. Man, that UFC card this weekend, I really think it was the best as far as like totality. Every fight on the main card was just unbelievable. It was so good, and I love boxing. And I don't ever get butterflies like I do when there's a big boxing match, like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, or now we got Errol Spence about to fight Terrence Crawford. Now, granted, I don't get butterflies like that, but UFC overall, they just hold more big events, and they got my attention more than boxing right now. But, man, this weekend, I mean, if anybody watched the fights, even if you're not a fight fan, how can you not root for it? Because right off the beginning, you got this guy, Bo Nickel, who's like this NCAA wrestling legend from Penn State, still lives in Penn State, still wrestles with the guys, and he's 5-0, and all first-round finishes, and he's a wrestler. The guy he's supposed to fight backs out. They hire this new guy named Val Woodburn on literally like 4 days' notice. This guy comes in. He's going to fight Bo Nickel. And you saw it coming. It reminded me of when Mike Tyson came back and fought Peter McNeely. Like, McNeely, basically, you knew he was going to come in throwing like crazy, and Mike just had to weather the first 30 seconds. It was very similar. Like, because I don't know if you remember the Mike Tyson-Peter McNeely fight. That dude just came out, and then Mike caught him, and it was over. This was so similar. because you knew this Val guy, he wants to make a name for himself. He's known to be a stand-up striker. He comes in just throwing haymakers. And who knew Bo Nickel hit him like, ba-dink? Knocked him out with the one hit a quitter. I was like, yo. So the wrestler ended up knocking him out. So now the legend grows. Now the wrestler has power in his hands. So they're like, whoa. He got stand-up and he's got the wrestling game. So I'm like, that guy's unbelievable. And the next fight was Jalen Turner and Dan Hooker. Both these two long dudes. And come to find out, Dan Hooker, like, broke a bone in his wrist and his jaw and just kept fighting and won the fight by decision. They were just throwing like crazy. They were bleeding, broken bones. And I was like, that went to decision, but they were throwing. UFC's like, if it goes to decision and it's two dudes wrestling, that's all right. But when they throw in like crazy and it goes to decision, it gets to a point, and I can't be the only one, when you see two guys at a high level and they're both just throwing and the crowd's going nuts, you don't want to see them get knocked out. I'm like a purist. I don't even care who I'm rooting for. It's to a point where I'm like, damn, these boys are putting on a show for the fans. One, you don't want the fight to end. And two, you don't want either of them to lose. So you're just like, you're so invested. And I'm like, I don't want either of them to get knocked out. I just want them to keep blooding each other up, taking these punches and finishing the fight. That fight was great. The next fight comes up. It's Robert Whittaker and Dricus du Plessis, South African dude. White South African dude. I'm going to get to that in a minute, why it's important. And then Robert Whittaker's never lost in 10 years other than to Israel Adesanya, who I think pound for pound is one of the best. So does everybody else. And this du Plessis just annihilates Robert Whittaker, knocks him out in 2 rounds. I'm like, okay, this guy's a real deal. He's been downplayed so much, and now he's going to fight Israel next for the title. And then you got the next fight, though. Oh, my gosh. Brandon Moreno and Alexander, I don't want to mispronounce his name, Pentoja. Oh, God, these all respect the Bruce Buffer. He gets these names right, and I'd be looking, I'm like, okay. Alexandra Pentoja. Again, these two little dudes, I think they weigh like 125 pounds, just throwing like crazy. And then I'm rooting for Brandon Moreno because he's such a nice guy in all his interviews. But then afterwards, this Alexandre Pontejo, they're going to kill me for mispronouncing his name. I swear to God, I feel awful. And they don't tell me. He goes, this fight is for my mother. She raised me and my brothers by herself. And then he goes, how you like me? He's not how you like me now, but Dad. But he was like, do you see me now, Dad? You see me? And I was like, yo, he just dug in on his dad. And clearly his dad wasn't around when he was growing up. And I can attest, there ain't nothing like that feeling when you want your dad's approval so bad and you don't get it. And then finally that looking for his approval turns to bitterness. And then it really becomes your motivation in life. Like you want to prove him wrong. And I can attest, I'm not going to get it. I can attest to it from my stepdad and my dad. So when he said that, I was like, oh, I was rooting for Brandon Moreno, but I'm not upset that this guy won after hearing his life story. And now he's married, got his own kids. And it's just like, man. And nobody has anything bad to say about him. And then the headline of the fight was Alexander Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez. I don't know if you've seen this guy, Yair Rodriguez. He does these kicks, and he did against Alexander Volkanovski. He could throw these kicks, and then his foot like flicks you. He can almost like bitch slap you with his toes. He'll throw the kick and be like, pow! And he's been annihilating people. And that's when you know there's levels to this, because Volkanovski almost toyed with them the whole fight, and just dominated, and end up knocking him out in the second round. So look at the main card. So it was $80, and it was sometimes when you spend money on a fight, you're like, dang, that was a waste of money. I felt like I didn't pay enough. So you got a first round KO, and then you got a decision, but it was such a back and forth battle. Then you got a second round KO, and then you got another back and forth battle, and then you got another second round KO. Oh, round 3. I'm sorry. Volkanovski knocked him out in round 3. But I mean, just great fights. And then Robbie Lawler, it's his last fight. He's going to the Hall of Fame, and he knocks his guy out in the preliminaries, and 38 seconds. I mean, it was a great night of UFC fights. I'll tell you that. Oh, man. That was great. I think it was the best one I ever saw from start to finish. Definitely the best one I ever saw. It's such a great weekend. I'm such a sports fan. And here's the thing about me. I'm a Cincinnati through and through. I am like Reds, Bengals, soccer, boxers, high school, college, anything for Cincinnati I'm rooting for. I lived in Cincinnati pretty much, let me see. I was born there. I moved to San Diego from basically 6 months to 3 years old. Then I lived from Cincinnati to 3 years old to 17. Then I joined the Navy. And then I got out and started doing I moved back to Cincinnati when I was 30. And yeah, back to Cincinnati when I was 30 years old. Lived there up until about 5 years ago. And now look, all them lean years, I was in the city. I never really saw much as an adult. And now I move out. Bengals get good. Reds are good. Soccer team's good. The football team's good. I'm like, okay, where was all this when I was living here? What is going on right now? And I don't know, like, over the weekend, De La Cruz from Cincinnati, oh, my God. Ever since he got called up, that team is so different. Funny how one guy can change something. He stole second, third, and home in the same inning. Who steals home plate? He's unbelievable. And every year I've gotten a suite. I've had good times with my friends. I don't think I'm going to make a game this year. I'm not going to be in town. Like, I'm looking at their schedule like, dang, every time I'm in a city, they're just leaving or getting there. And then the few times I'm going to be back in Cincinnati this year, they're away. I'm like, God, my schedule did not line up properly. But, man, they're fun to watch. God, that's the thing about Cincinnati right now. The Bengals and Reds, there's a thing going on. De La Cruz or Burrow. Who's a funner team? If you're baseball, I mean, there's no question. We have it's fun as the word, we have the most exciting team in baseball to watch. I think the Braves and us are the two most exciting. Yankees had the mystique, but Braves and Reds, without question. And they're just fun. They're fun to watch. And then the Bengals, come on now. That offense, I mean, defense is cool. Don't get me wrong, but you're paying to watch the offense now, and it's just like we're stacked. Such a good time to be living in the city, and I ain't living there no more. So outside of that, I think last week the one thing everyone was talking about was Keke Palmer and Usher. This whole incident with her, is it her husband or boy? I don't think it's her husband. Is it her husband? I should have researched this before. I'm sorry. Boyfriend. Yeah, I didn't think they were married. So I know you guys have all heard. Keke Palmer goes to an Usher show. Usher brings her on stage. Keke's got an outfit with her booty out. She's like really like giving Usher the bedroom eyes and everything. And then all of a sudden, her boyfriend gets on social media and basically, berates her a little bit and is not happy with the outfit. He's really not happy she danced up on Usher. And I think, looking at it from every perspective, and I took a few days to comment on this because I want to make sure I got the whole story, and I just think it's everybody's fault and it's nobody's fault at the same time. Because Usher's shows in Vegas, he's selling sex, like not to the extent of like strippers and everything. It's more like it's a sexy vibe. It's a sexy concert. You get dressed up. You're like, yeah, it's the concert you're supposed to go to, and then you go back and with your lady and handle business. And the show's got more women than men in it. I mean, he's a sex symbol. So by Keke going up there on stage with that outfit with her ass out, yeah, it's probably a little, I don't want to say disrespectful. It's a little inappropriate if you got a dude. But at the same time, the dude, her boyfriend, was posting pictures of her and videos of her and basically showing off her ass. So he's proud of it. So it's like, again, it's everybody's fault, nobody's fault. For me, I don't want to take a girl. I'm not taking a girl to an Usher concert and letting her wear an outfit where her ass is out. And knowing Usher brings people on stage and serenades people and goes in the audience. No, we're not doing that. Yeah, you're gonna dress a little more conservative than that, if you ask me. Call me insecure. I don't know. Call me. I'm just real about this. But to publicly shame her and go to social media with it, that was an insecure move, bro. You can't do stuff like that. You handle that stuff in house. You don't go, especially when you was flaunting her butt, and now you're mad because she had her butt next to Usher. So, like I said, it's everybody's fault, nobody's fault. But you never take that stuff to social media. You're talking about coming from a guy that got dragged on social media through my divorce. Yeah, it's just not it's not fun. And it just, I don't know. Some things you got to keep in house. That's what we're missing in the world today. Everybody wants to go to social media with their issues with people instead of just handling it in house. And even if you can't get a hold of I'm not gonna get into it. But either way, I'll give you an example. Now Keke shouldn't have gone on stage and flirted with Usher either. She should have known I got a dude at the house. So anytime you see like people looking at each other with them bedroom eyes, there's been a couple instances. I remember at the Oscars when Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper was singing their song "Shallow," and they was like this close. And I was like, oh, they're about to kiss, and you could see Bradley Cooper's woman in the audience. She was not happy. So I'm like, I feel you, baby girl. It's awkward. It's awkward, and not saying they did anything wrong. They was quote unquote in character, but you know when people have chemistry. You just know it. And I'll give you an example of like what I thought was a cool thing that happened. So I was in Vegas about a year ago, and I'm with this young lady, and she had her friends with her, and her friends wanted to go see Thunder from Down Under. And I that wasn't on my list, but I'm being a team player, so I go, and I'm the only guy. It's like 6 girls and me at Thunder from Down Under. And it's COVID, we still had to wear the mask. So we're there with mask on. And so it's probably about a year and a half. And a little less, not about a year. Anyways, if you ever go to Thunder from Down Under, ladies, if you go, if you want to have a good time and enjoy it, yeah, it's honestly, it's worth it. It's fun. It's entertaining. It is what it is. But as a guy, it's funny because all the guys that go there, we start looking around at the other guys like, all right, you don't tell nobody I'm here. I ain't going to tell nobody you're here. And what they do is like there's 4 different times that they bring women on stage. They take them out of the audience and bring them on stage. And I noticed the first time it's very almost PG-ish. They don't do a lot the first time. The first girl gets on stage, it's just like they get a little, not even lap dance, they just dance around a little bit. The second girl comes on stage, and the show's about an hour and a half. There's a little more touching and feeling. The third girl, it was a lot more touching and feeling. I'm like, wait a minute. The progression of this is every time they bring a girl on stage, it's getting more and more freakier. The 4th time, the guy comes directly towards the girl that I'm there with. And I went, what? And then he tried to grab her. He goes, ugh, and she goes, oh no. And he was like, and then he grunted and walked away. And I go, what was that? And keep in mind, you got women, and I'm sure just like at the Usher concert, throwing themselves. They want to come on stage. They want it. They might be at their bachelorette party. They might be just wilding with their girlfriends. And I kept thinking, why would a dude come to this chick? He clearly sees I'm sitting next to her. And then, but the fact that she didn't go, I was like, oh. I kind of looked at her like, all right, this might be a ride or die kind of thing. And then the girl they did bring on stage, oh my God. They had her on the ground. I think there was baby oil involved. They was grinding on her. At one point, I think she grabbed this package. I was like, whoa, this is a lot. I was like, and I kept looking like, man, if they'd have brought the girl I'm with on that stage, honestly, I would have felt some kind of way. I'd have been looking like, oh, okay. I'm not going to go to social media and say anything, but I might have been like, but the fact that she said no, I was like, oh, all right. So like I said with the Keke and Usher thing, nobody's fault and everybody's fault. I'm not gonna let my girl I'm with wear an outfit with her ass out going to an Usher concert. I'm just not gonna let that happen. But I'm not judging because the dude was showing off her ass a week before on social media. So, I don't know. Much ado about nothing and a lot of something. But you're showing your insecurity when you go to social media and complain about that stuff. That's all I'm saying. Let me lighten the mood a little bit. I'm always going to do a movie review, but there's a certain Instagram page. If I'm really into like the cooking pages for some reason is my thing. There's one. It's called Over the Fire Cooking on Instagram. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if you like steaks and things like that, this dude always makes whatever I'm eating look like shit. I mean, just straight shit out the ass. The way this guy cooks his food, it makes it look, and it's always like the sound. Like you can hear the egg cracking. You can hear the way he mixes the sauce to put on the steak. It's and everything's sizzling perfect, and everything's over a grill or a fire. And his stuff always looks freaking amazing. It looks so amazing. I messaged him telling him, your food makes my food always look like shit. And then I said, where do you live? And he was like, well, I'm in Nashville. I said, and I had just left Nashville when I messaged him. And I was like, dude, next time I'm in Nashville, I got to come over for lunch. And he was like, done. So I'm like calling my agent like, yo, can you get me to Nashville? I'm trying to eat. But Over the Fire Cooking, if nothing else, if you like watching cooking pages, and the problem with these cooking pages on the internet, they make it look so easy. And I have tried a few recipes, and it never turns out like the videos. And the videos, it probably takes them 5 hours to make the food. They make it look like it takes 30 seconds when it ends up taking 5 hours to make the food. Man, that was good. That guy. So Over the Fire Cooking. And then the movie review. I'm always on Netflix and stuff. So I found this one. It was really good, but it was dark. It's called The Champion. Came out in 2020. It's got a bunch of people you've never heard of, really. Because I think it's. So I'll tell you what. I don't ever want to. I'll tell you what IMDb says the movie's about. The story of the pre-war boxing champion Teddy Petrowski, who in 1940 arrives with the first transport of prisoners to the newly created Auschwitz concentration camp. So it's a World War II movie, but I've seen Schindler's List. I've seen quite a few war movies. I'm really into war movies and prison movies for some reason. But this one was pretty good. It wasn't long. Like Schindler's List was really long. This one was about an hour and a half, I think. Let me see. How long does it say it is? It doesn't. I don't think it was much more than an hour and a half. But man, you forget how dark we are as a society, that people can do stuff to other people. There's a couple scenes. There's one. So these people are in the concentration camp. So they show them walking into those ovens, those human ovens, and it was really like I've never seen such a not accurate, but how can I word this? Realistic look at stuff. Like the heartlessness of some of this. There was one scene where this old man was just talking, and they're doing their work and they're talking, and the guard just comes up behind them, doesn't say a word, just takes a shovel and goes boom, and like, enough talking, back to work. I said, you got to be kidding me. And so they're just looking at him. And then there's another scene where they have it's a concentration camp. So it's almost like, if you could think of like an apartment building with a courtyard in the middle, but their courtyard obviously is where they take some of the prisoners and execute them. So they got this wall. They got a brick wall, but in front of the brick wall, they got cement blocks, kind of. And that's where they line people up and shoot them. And you could see the blood splatter from them shooting other people in this courtyard. And they line them up. And to the life of me, I don't understand that. They don't understand how you could just know you're going to die. And I'm just like, I'm going for it. If you are lining me up and I know you've killed everybody else, and I'm looking at the blood splatter, they'll line the bodies up over a drain and you'll see the blood drain out. I'm rushing. I'm rushing the guards, and if I'm going to go out, I'm just going to go out. And yeah, there's a pretty intense scene where the lead is about to die, and he's about to get shot next to this wall, and for like stealing apples or something, and he just like in complete rebellion, they said put the apple on your head. So they were gonna like have gunplay with them, and if they shoot him in the head, they shoot him in the head, or they shoot the apple off his head. He takes a bite of the apple, and then they were about to kill him. And this kid that's in the camp with him, he says something to the guards, and it's something in a certain language that they was like, oh, this kid might be valuable. We might need him. And basically saves both their lives at that moment. And the guy's like a really good boxer, so they throw boxing matches so the guards can bet on him, and the guy's fighting. This guy just keeps winning these basically smoker fights, and by him winning in boxing, he gets like a cush job. He's like in the stables taking care of horses, and he gets like perks. They give him like a loaf of bread because they want to keep him fed so he can be somewhat healthy to box. And you see him like really becomes like a hero to all the other prisoners because he'll get a loaf of bread and he'll bring it in and he'll like pull off a piece and he'll like throw the bread in the middle of where everybody's sleeping, and you see these guys like dogs on meat. All the guys they're all just Arr. And one thing I will say, every movie I've seen about World War II and the Holocaust, the Jewish people they like to share. I'll tell you that, because I ain't seen a movie yet where a guy was like greedy with the food. They're always like, no, give that to him, give that to him. And because there's one scene where the guy brought an apple in and he gave it to an old man to share because he was weak. He didn't know he was going to make it. He goes, no, you need to take this apple because you need it more than I do. But there is one, I don't get the whole movie away, but there's one scene where this girl, they caught her stealing food. And goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. They had a guard. They were telling her to take off her clothes, and this guard was drunk. And he was, she was about to get executed or get thrown in the gas chamber with everybody else. And the guard's so drunk, and he's talking to her in German, and she just like basically takes the gun and shoots him, kills him, and then she just gets blasted by all the guards. But it was just like, I said, well, that's how you go out. I mean, she knew she was going to die. So why not go for the gun? And that's what made me think of that. I go, yeah, that's how you go out right there. So, yeah, it's called The Chick. Came out in 2020. Yeah, it was good, but everybody in it, like the lead is Piotr Glowicki. Everyone's got a CKI at the end of their name. Gregor Malitsky. There's a Glowicki, a Malitsky, a John Sadowski, a Marek Kasprik. I mean, like I said, everybody here, where do they shoot this? I'm always interested where they shoot movies. You ever watched the end of movies, when they run the credits? I always stay because I'm always curious where they shot it. I wonder where they shot this thing at. Let me see. I guess it was their true story too. Country of origin, Poland. So they shot it in Poland. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, they shot in Mazowiecki, Poland. God, I really got to work on my Polish, clearly. Yeah, that's where they shot it. And then, you know what? And I just want to give before we end here, I just want to give a shout out to my openers. I think as a stand-up, as a headliner, you bring people on the road with you. And I've seen, everybody knows Lil Duval, but he had a guy named Kool-Aid. And he opened for him for a long time. Funny dude, nice guy. and he passed away a few years ago. And Duval, to his credit, made sure that he really Duval. Think about little Duval, man. He really takes care of his people, and he made sure like Kool-Aid was a huge Dallas Cowboy fan, so Duval hooked it up where they went to Dallas. He got to walk on the field, got to be on the star at the 50-yard line, and took him on a couple vacations and stuff. And I remember I texted him or something. Sorry about your friend, and I know he's something about being on stage, and Duval goes, nah, it had nothing to do with what he did off stage. It's about what he does off stage. And I was like, yeah, that's so true, because our openers, they're so vital. I don't think when you got them road people, like Kev's got his crew, but my two guys, man, Rob and T-Robe, it's funny. You're in this business a long time, and you get different people opening for you at different stages of your career, and then you get to a certain level, and you get those people that like really have your best interests at heart and really make your life easy on the road. And these two guys, man, they really, I use one or the other. I'm going to use them both in Vegas. So if you come to the show July 22nd, you'll get to see them both. But when I do clubs, I can only use one, and we kind of rotate back and forth. But they really make my life easier, because it's just little things. Because I remember a couple years ago, I was in L.A., and I have club soda on my rider, and there was no club soda in my dressing room. And my manager, Lisa, was there, and not my road manager, my manager. And I remember telling the guys that had working for me at the time, I said, yeah, I don't have any club soda. And then neither of them, nobody moved to go get me some club soda. And then they just kind of looked at me and they said, well, they gave you tonic water. And I went, yeah, that's not club soda. And then my manager just left, and she comes back 5-10 minutes later, and she's got 5 of those Pepsi cups you get when you're at a concert at the concession stand, full of club soda. And then she had a guy with her bringing more club soda. And then she pulled me aside and she goes, Gary, I was not happy when I saw your quote unquote team not getting you anything. And it wasn't the club soda. It was, she basically said, she goes, they don't think you deserve it. They don't think you deserve the club soda. That's why they didn't go get it for you. She goes, a person working for you that is your road manager or something, they go, the minute you said I don't have club soda, they should have went to 7-Eleven. They should have went to the venue and said, he needs club soda now. You got to make it look like he can't live without club soda. He goes, but they didn't care. They didn't think you deserved it. And it might seem minor, but I was like, huh, I never thought of that. Because then when I'm on the road with other people, when I see other headliners, when we're doing these package shows and these tours, I see how I watch very closely how their team moves. So when I'm on the road with Epps or anybody really, I'm always watching. I'm like, oh, okay, Cedric, Bruce, Quake, Chappelle, Kevin. Whenever I'm around them and I see their team, I'm like, oh yeah, they're making sure they don't have a want for anything. Their job is to focus on that stage and perform for those people that spent money to see them. And you want the least distraction and the least drama backstage as possible. And yeah, so I was like, that opened my eyes a little bit a couple years ago. And Rob and T-Robe, now the two guys on the road with me now, they just make my life so easy. They just handle their shit. I'll put it that way when they're on the road with me. And yeah, so I just want to let them know I appreciate it a lot. So, all right. Well, if you're with me, come see me this weekend in Philly. I will have T-Robe with me. And then if you come see me in Vegas, you'll see Rob and T-Robe if you're curious about who I'm talking about. All right, y'all. Well, yeah, it was a good week, and I'll see you guys next week. This is Gary Owen to Get Some Podcast.